Welcome to the St Mike's Youth podcast. Our series at the moment is St Mike's Youth Chats, where St Mike's Youth chat about stuff. It's that simple.
Hello and welcome to this episode of St Mike's Youth Chats. This week we're going to be talking about film plots. Specifically, we've got a bit creative and we've come up with our own film plots. We're going to pitch them to each other and just generally chat. So if everyone wants to say hello, we've got quite a few people on here today.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, a choir of hellos. Cool, so I thought it would be good to start by just chatting about what we think makes a good film plot, our favourite films, and anything along those lines.
We should probably start off with, what's your favourite film?
That's a good question. What is your favourite film, Will?
I asked it. I'm gonna think.
I think it's quite a hard question. It's a bit like, what's your favourite song? It's kind of like, I'm not sure. Has anyone got a definite favourite film?
I do.
Okay, you go then, Ewan.
So, my definite favourite film is Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. I think the reasons behind it. I think Peter Jackson did an absolutely amazing job in trying to keep to the story as much as possible. Although admittedly there is a lot in the books that isn't in the film, I think the spirit of the story is there. Like, one of my favourite things is like in the Charge of the Rohirrim, when the riders of Rohan charge outside the gates of Minas Tirith. Like, there's meant to be like 6,000 riders in that in that screen. Most of them are CGI'd. I remember watching like an extra outtake where they managed to get about 600.
They filmed the set of 600 people and then copied it over to make it a bigger crowd.
But they managed to get about 600 capable riders to come. But the reason why they couldn't get more is because Peter Jackson insisted that only people who had read the book could work as extras in that scene.
Wow.
Which is why you get some absolutely amazing sort of characters, and just in that riding scene you see some amazing facial expressions because they know what the
Rohirrim were feeling.
They know what they were meant to be feeling at that time because they had been involved in the actual story that they were putting onto the screen. So it's things like that I absolutely love about Lord of the Rings.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that is quite cool.
That is cool. So it's consistency for you with the book, though, as well.
It is, but it's consistency with the book, but it's being able to capture that spirit that. Like, you can almost say that no film will ever will never come up to the standard of when you read a book in your head, because when you're reading a book, your imagination can somehow always do better than what you see on a film sometimes. I think Lord of the Rings is one of the very few films that can capture your imagination when you read a book and put it on screen. It's like things like Ian McKellen used to walk round with a book when he was on set, reading it and going to Peter Jackson. I was like, I don't think this is how it would have been done. Things like that. So Christopher Lee, when he is in the film, when he is stabbed at the top of the tower, and I can't remember the name. No, it's not on Weathertop. That's where Frodo's stabbed. So Christopher Lee, when the character Saruman is stabbed in the film, on top of Isengard Tower, there is a proper name for it, and I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Is it Barad-dûr or
no? Barad-dûr is where.
That's the other one.
Is the other one in Mordor? But
The Tower of Orthanc.
That's it. He went to Peter Jackson and said, that's not the noise of what happens when somebody gets stabbed. Like, you want me to scream? That's not what happens. And he goes, I was in the army in the Second World War, and I know what it sounds like when people get stabbed. And it's just that experience, it kind of brings that reality into things. So yeah, that's the reasons why I love Lord of the Rings.
Mm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so level of acting as well. And it's an age-old debate, isn't it? Book versus film. People read books before film. Some people like to watch the film before they read the book. What about you guys? What's favourite films, do we think?
I quite like Ford versus Ferrari when it came out, but that was a good one.
I quite enjoyed Ready Player One because as a film, it's a very good and interesting film, even though apparently it's not very close to the actual book, because they took it kind of in its own way and did make it a very good film, because it's got the kind of cool action scenes whilst also having dips with its like where they're talking, they're being friends, they're showing that emotion and bond with each other.
Yeah, and it's visually quite a stunning film, and like
The amount of
pop
video game references and references they stuck in it is amazing.
and pop culture, and just it's, like visually you can watch it 10 times and see something new every single time. It's awesome. I think my current favourite film, I think it changes from time to time, it's a toss-up between Gladiator and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Because of Gladiator, because it's just awesome, Russell Crowe at his peak, and just very good storytelling and visually stunning for the similar reasons I like films that they kind of put detail into the kind of how they make it as well as. But then Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, that film is a visual masterpiece. It's beautiful, it's brilliant storytelling, and every time I watch it I'm just like, wow, it's so pretty, because it's almost hand animated, but has very cool visuals, so highly recommend it.
It's made to sort of feel and look like it's the comics.
Yeah, like a comic book kind of feel. It's very cool.
That's cool. Robbie, what about you? Have you got a favourite film?
I don't really have a favourite film, but like I probably have probably changes over time, just of what genre I like generally. But recently I've really liked clever films, like like when you kind of work it out with it. And you ever seen Eagle Eye?
I don't think so.
Not for a very long time.
I know it was quite a while ago that I saw it too, but it just came to mind. And I like films like that, where it's kind of like you're trying to work it out constantly just working out with it, and it's kind of just like nudging you along, and it's just it just really makes you think, and I like it when it's engaging and I'm not just sat there doing nothing.
Yeah, I like it with those films as well, where you can watch it with like a group of people or your family, and everyone's got a different interpretation of what happened and why it happened and how it could end, or like why it was. Like we watched Inception the other day, which my parents had seen before, and I'd seen like half of it, which I know is a bit of a crime with a film like Inception. But yeah, we watched it, and all of us had like a different interpretation of the last scene and stuff. So it was really interesting to hear based on which scenes people thought it was how it was or whatever. So yeah, I like films like that as well. It's good. Cool. So, speaking of good films, shall we hear some of people's ideas? Who wants to go first? Do you reckon? Anyone brave enough to be the first one?
Let's hear Ewan, because his
Yes.
seems like it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I
Before we
would
started
also like to
recording,
hear
Ewan
yours.
was laughing reading through it, so we're all pumped to hear what it involves. So, Ewan, over to you.
Right. So as you know, I am famously unimaginative, and so I cheated slightly, and I went on a random plot generator, and just it takes you through like about 20-30 different like choices that you can make in your story, like the name of your characters, like their relationships, adjectives to describe them, verbs to what they do during the plot, and then it gives you a little short story. And so my story, so my short story, my little film, or short film, is called The Minuscule Piano.
It's already bad.
Penned under the name John Bunkle McTavish.
Nice.
which I actually think I might take if I ever write a book. I think I might call my first name John Bunkle. It revolves around a encounter between our hero, a man named Mo Cox, who is his friends describe him as a magnificent muppet. He's the sort of man that once brought back a baby bird from the brink of death. That's just the sort of man he is. There's no real point of what he does, but what he does brilliantly. And his encounter with a pro gamer by the name of Charity Barker. Charity has fallen in love with Mo and wants a pencil. That's all, just a simple pencil. But unfortunately, Mo doesn't have the money. And so it all ends rather sadly with Charity moving off into the distance and Mo returning to his house to pour himself a glass of 15-year-old Scotch whiskey, which apparently he likes. And my tagline to the film, which I did actually come up with myself because that wasn't one of the things that that I had an option for, was a pointless encounter. Because there's no pencil.
Oh, I'm sold. I love it.
How is he able to afford 15-year-old Scotch, if he can't afford a pencil?
Very special pencil.
Yeah, must be a gold-lined pencil.
The pencil is rather figurative of his heart. He says, "You know, I can't afford to give you my heart because I don't love you." And so it's allegorical, really.
Very deep. Can I just clarify the name of the film? Did you say Minuscule Pencil?
No, I said the minuscule piano because there is a piano mentioned in it, but it's not really
integral to the plot.
It's not integral to any part of the plot. It's just the title. I selected the title to be taken from an object from the film, but but for some reason it has I could call it the absent pencil or something like that.
I quite like Minuscule Piano. I was just checking that I'd heard you right.
Yeah, no, you had.
I
quite liked it as well, but the story only mentions the piano once, and it doesn't really. It's not integral to any part of the plot.
I like it.
But yeah, that's me.
Boom.
Any questions from anyone about this film plot?
I don't know if I could. I don't know what I would say. It's such a brilliant story. It's nothing.
What age
nothing.
would it be kind of aimed at? Because it seems like it wouldn't really fit into any category.
I think it's going for it. It's kind of in the upper teen fiction.
Love is pointless kind of thing.
No, there's a romantic interest. There's a bit of tension going on, but it's just about old enough to be dealing with issues around drinking and stuff like that. So upper teen.
So it's not going to be an animated film then?
Probably not. It's going to probably become a short story that's shown in schools during PHSE lessons.
Yeah, maybe.
Brilliant.
How did the story start? I've kind of forgotten.
Well, the story starts by introducing the main character. I could read you the opening paragraph if you like.
Yes, please.
I would love that.
So good.
Okay, opening 2 paragraphs. Because I arranged this around a pencil, I did choose the location. So it starts. Mo Cox had always hated Ryman's with its annoying one-way system. It was a place that he always felt jumpy. He was an energetic, arrogant whiskey drinker with dirty elbows and charming fingers. His friends saw him as a magnificent mammoth muppet. Once he had even brought a leaking baby bird back from the brink of death. That's just the sort of man he was.
Can I ask why he was in Ryman if he can't purchase a pencil? That's probably the cheapest item in Ryman. Why has he found himself there?
This is all. I didn't know this is. The story has developed around a few points that I wrote down. So I said that he was in Ryman's, but the next paragraph goes on to him walking to a window while it's raining outside. So it's It was all randomly generated.
It has no sense of
Yeah.
space or time.
It's like Doctor Who.
Yeah. To be fair, he could have gone in to check the prices.
I've changed my mind. This is a fan fiction of Doctor Who.
Do we all need a starting paragraph now?
Yeah.
You've set the bar high, Ewan.
Yeah. No, we don't have to have one, but if you've got one, perfect. But yeah, right, I think we're ready for the next one. Who wants to go next? Robbie?
Alright. So this is very unfinished, and I'm not sure where I'm going, so we'll just start. Basically, there's this guy in prison, and he was wrongly accused of murder. And he's almost finished his life sentence. Because I'm pretty sure life sentences aren't for
They're
life.
30 years, yeah.
Yeah, he's like a couple weeks off, but then the government, they've just discovered time travel, but not like you go back in time, you go back into your past self, time travel, and they wanted to test it out on someone, so they tested it out on the prison, and so the whole prison, everyone in the prison goes back in time 30 years, so, and he ends up in the courtroom where he's about to be convicted of murder, which he didn't do, and he has 2 days to try and prove he was not the murderer, or he has to do it all again.
That's actually a really good idea.
Thank you.
I love that. Because he could also have an element of like trying to prove that he's already done his time as well. Like trying to prove that he not only did he not do the murder, but he also has already done the time and has been sent back. That's really good.
I was trying to think of a log line, but I couldn't. But I just kind of thought of a scene where he could be in the courtroom and be like, and the what are they called? Judges. Yeah, he'd be talking to the judge, it'd sound insane, going like, I've already done this, I've already served my lesson. He's like, nah, you haven't served your life sentence, we haven't even prosecuted you yet, or something. And that'd be like, we haven't even convicted you of murder yet. Are you admitting to it? I mean, you said you served the time. So.
You could also hint. I've recently watched an episode of Star Trek Discovery where they use a time loop, which is basically this guy keeps resetting time at the end of a 30-minute window, and only one person can remember that he's doing it, and they have to convince over and over again their crewmates to realise that they're actually telling the truth. And then at one point he gets one of them to tell him their deepest secret, so when he goes to them he can say it and they will believe him. So you could have something like that where he remembers something from the past to convince someone that he is telling the truth.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go along the lines of, time loop, but 30 years, and every time he'd have to relive the entire life sentence,
way
and then
he's going to succeed. Because that way he just doesn't go. He knows which leads he's tried, and eventually he will find the right ones.
Yeah. I was going on the lines of, like, he'd kind of given up hope. He'd kind of, there was nothing left for him. He'd served his 30 years. He was ready to just move on with his life, and now he's got to very quickly remember everything that he's been trying to forget for the last 30 years, and then try figure out what happened. And he's got to, that might be not very nice for him, having to relive it all.
It sounds like almost a mixture of like Looper and Shawshank Redemption, almost.
And Back to the Future.
And Back to the Future, yeah.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's good as well because he'll know like about like big world events that have happened in those 30 years.
If he gets out, gambling, he could become a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends if it's like, butterfly effect, so the things start changing the second he goes back, or if it would happen the same.
Oh, so it could end up being one of those mind-bending films.
Whether it creates alternate universe, or whether it...
Yeah. And then he has to go back and, like, destroy it or something, because...
Problems have occurred.
Imagine going back and realizing you have to relive the 30 years because in prison, because otherwise you destroy the world. Like,
Because that could be a very interesting way to end. You could have him kind of near the end concede and just go to prison to save the world, and then at the end you have a heartfelt moment of him walking out the prison and meeting his daughter or something that he wouldn't have had unless he'd been sent back in time.
Ooh, yeah.
That has just become a part of his life.
Or there's like a twist and like there's something else at the very last minute that then makes the sequel or something.
Yeah, like something like nothing to do with anything just happens during that time he's back, and then it's something massively significant the second he gets out of prison or goes back.
Yeah, it's a good plot. We love that one. So many ideas, so many options. Good work, Robbie.
Thank you.
Cool. Sam, do you want to go next?
Title.
Oh.
Sorry, title.
Oh yeah, title.
It's,
Yeah, we don't even have the title. Sorry.
Life sentence, perhaps, or if you can think of a better one, I don't mind.
Life sentence with a question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a clock kind of behind it. Kind of. Yes, I like that. So my film, you can kind of tell slightly from what film I've just recently been watching. It's called The Samurai. Set in first century Japan, war is all around. Two brothers, Tetsu and Haruki, stumble upon an ancient swordsmith who teaches them the way of the samurai to save their village. Can they master the skills they need to save the ones they love? And the kind of tagline would be, a samurai carries two swords.
Ooh. Very nice. What questions do we have about that one?
Wait, what's the thing that's threatening their village?
Kind of war and things.
A rival clan.
Yeah, there's a villain from a rival clan in the valley, the other side. They're two princes that have to go and find a solution.
Is there going to be like a cool training montage, like in Karate Kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Like kind of
The
burning,
training dummies
kind of,
spinning around into.
yeah,
Yeah.
training the dummies, forging swords, epic montages, beautiful B-roll.
Fighting with wooden swords that I've forgotten the
Yeah.
Japanese name for.
Katanas, yes. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, don't they hold the katana with two hands?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you could make that quite a dark film, because in the end they could fail
Mm.
at protecting their village,
Yeah.
and then they watch it burn
Ooh.
after killing. So it's like the henchman with his goons. They're fighting the henchman on a cliff top above the village, but they don't realise the goons have gone. And as they're defeating the villain, they just see smoke rising over the cliff top. And as they look over, their village is burning below them, because that would set up for a very dark second film.
Yep.
Or what was it the ancient swordsmith, was it? Swords?
Yeah.
He could actually be like, doing it for his own personal gain, just thinking they think he's helping them, but actually he's...
Yeah. I was thinking more like he was a dragon, but in human form.
When did you say that this was set?
First century Japan.
So, okay.
The samurai are probably already around.
They might be. I might say the katana. Yeah, the katana wasn't invented until the 14th century,
Okay.
but
They started getting firearms at some point brought in from like America and Britain, and that's when the era of the samurai ended.
because Japan, who had not a lot of natural steel, found a way to laminate and fold their steel, which is what makes a katana very strong, because it'll have about folded and refolded like 30,000 layers of steel, all pressed down into a very, very strong and sharp blade.
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit of bladesmithing knowledge.
Yeah, I've been watching The Last Samurai, so that's the slight inspiration for that one.
I mean, so this would be the first of a series, because
Yep.
I've called it Fallen Might Resurrection, and you and me very well notice pretty well, almost instantly, what video game franchise this is based off of, loosely.
Is it vaguely to do with your screen?
Yes. I mean, the first word can probably tell you that. Desmond has always wondered what a quiet life would have been like, because this is written as a book, not a film. But basically, he's trying to, well, almost rescue his dad from this evil corporation. Well, these evil corporations in a post-apocalyptic world where the nukes have fallen, the world's oceans have evaporated, and there's these massive cities where, like, almost military installations once were, ruled by the people that stayed in them, and with everyone that couldn't get into shelter as the subservient group, and they're fighting back against them, trying to overthrow, and he's gone back to meet someone at the village where he was born and where his dad disappeared, that had been raided. So he's there reliving a memory from his childhood. Like, the first bit is he's thinking about it, and then it goes further on. So he meets the person, they get chased away. It's kind of like an action film, typical, quite dirty, gritty thing. They get away, and then they realise they kind of have a small, little tiny bit of information to do with where he is, and they kind of go on a trail trying to figure out where he is, and it culminates back in the village again, in a showdown with this elite hit squad that have been trying to track them down, and massive fight, cool fight at the end, with, I guess, either finding out that he's dead, or finding his crippled, kind of, hit him crippled somewhere, like his arm, but, well, it just crippled, because then that would lead into another book, and then eventually they would overthrow them in, like, the third book, maybe. I don't know. The end.
Awesome. What was the name of... Sorry, I didn't catch the title.
Fallen Might Resurrection. And I don't know a catchline or anything.
I got War of the Planet of the Apes vibes from that. I don't know if anyone's seen. I don't know why, just sort of halfway through.
Yeah.
Just saving a civilization, a species.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very dystopian.
Yeah, it was based sort of off of a mixture of the Fallout franchise.
I was going to say, we're playing Assassin's Creed Fallout.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Means you could go big. You could have books, films, and a video game.
You get in there with The Witcher. I mean, The Witcher is now a book, video game, and TV series. So
Yep.
Only a film to go for the full set.
I think it has been in Norway. They've got a Norwegian version that was a film, and then they've kind of made the Netflix series. I've never actually seen it, but I was just watching a documentary on it.
I think we sometimes forget that actually video games can have some absolutely amazing storylines as well. Where we kind of think go straight to books. My favourite storyline, I think my favourite game line story is from Final Fantasy X, and it's just absolutely epic. There's a YouTuber that I like to watch who loves the game even more than I do, and it's got like a 12-hour like movie version where he takes all the cutscenes, and does like all the game, doesn't do like any of the battles, but does like gameplay of him walking through as if like it was a movie and you're watching the characters move, and it's quite good.
Well,
So cool.
I've watched the whole Assassin's Creed franchise like that and several other
Yeah.
games.
It's really cool. It's a cool idea.
Awesome.
Nice. Dan, your turn.
I do have a bit of a confession. I was meant to be somewhere else. I bag in a field down in Devon,
Mm-hmm.
but so I don't actually have or didn't until 5 minutes ago, have any idea until Ewan gave me the idea of finding up a sort of new idea. So
Nice.
thanks for the idea, Ewan. But I went in it and got a boy who lives in separate worlds that exist only inside his head. And so I got a bit stuck with that one, but then, so I started looking around for inspiration. Totally not inspired by anything around me, but it is called A Boy Who Has 180 Dinosaurs Blue Tacked to His Ceiling.
Is that
imagine
boy
why.
you?
That may reference my ceiling.
So good.
So I guess it's the tagline is, the moment society produces a perfect human, it has failed every other human to have ever existed. Which for a moment was my WhatsApp bio. Taking inspiration from everywhere.
I am very curious for this plot. Like,
Yeah.
what is this about?
Well, I guess it is a boy who lives in separate worlds, and he is unhappy with the world that he currently lives in, so he creates these fantasies that I'm trying to come up with this as I'm going. So
That's fine.
Does he live in both of them at one time? Like, is it, or does he jump between one of the, like, both of the two?
I think that he lives, so obviously like lives in real life, but he's unhappy with real life, so he creates these false worlds inside his head that he pretends he lives in.
Are you talking about like imagination, or he literally creates a world?
I guess imagination.
Okay, so he kind of goes into his own mind.
But it's real to him.
Yeah.
Real to him, and he sort of like creates it how he wants it, so he sort of makes it perfect for him, and
Okay.
I guess it sort of follows him through the development of this world, and then you could at some point have a collapse of it, or something happens in real life.
I like how the creation of the world speaks to the character of the man.
You could be taken to a psychiatrist because I think there's a real life medical condition where you create worlds in your head.
Yeah, it could follow like a mental health condition. So the story sort of follows him in both real life and in this false
Fun.
reality.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's got a little bit of like Cloud Atlas vibes mixed with kind of what's the new series on Disney Plus that was a book? Artemis Fowl.
They wrecked that film.
It was disgraceful.
They ruined that film. The books are nothing like it at all.
Sorry, I've just opened a can of worms there, Dan.
Yeah, bad feelings against Artemis Fowl.
The books are amazing.
They are my time, like they were my time growing up as a teenager. They were being released. They are fantastic books. Owen Colfer is wonderful, but yeah, the film is.
They took away everything that makes Artemis Fowl good for the film.
I think because Amazon Prime has released an Alex Rider TV series. I reckon that it would have been done better as a TV series where you can see the development of his character, because
That's kind of what the films are about. No, the books are about.
Yeah.
So not being able to see that.
An evil genius child becoming a good and.
Well, not a good, but a better
Ish.
person. Because he still kidnaps people and does evil stuff.
Bit of an anti-hero.
But he still steals stuff because he's a genius, but like he's
bored.
when he's called to, he saves the world.
I mean, in one of them, he tries to stop climate change.
Boom.
There you go. So you wouldn't recommend then, I'm guessing.
I wouldn't recommend the film. The books I would definitely recommend.
And the Alex Rider series on
The Alex
Prime
Riders
is
are good.
So good.
I haven't seen the series.
Nightshade is the latest one.
I've read the books.
Yeah. They did the whole of Point Blank as a film.
They've already
With
done
bits
Yeah, I
Stormbreaker
saw the film.
as a film.
It was yeah.
So the series is like Point Blank, but they're like the first episode is bits of Stormbreaker. So,
Okay.
but majority of it's Point Blank, and it's just so well done. But yeah.
So Dan, with his imagination thing, is it like, does he know he's in his imagination, or is he just like completely?
Yeah, I think that he's done it because he's obviously living in the real world, but he's unhappy with lots of things.
He's
going on.
trying to escape.
Yeah, he's trying to escape. So I have just come up with this whole thing on the spot. So
I mean, it's a very good idea off the spot.
So in his imaginary world, yeah. Would you say it's more like it's just him with some random people, or is it like the people in real life are just kind of like like a lot more of what they seem to him?
I guess that it's still focused around him, but he's like changed everything in his imagination to what he wants it to be.
Like the Dream Builder in Inception.
Yeah,
That way you could have it so he's like someone he is quite well, he's closely related to him in real life, could be really mean, and then he could have changed them in his imagination to be a really nice person.
Yes. Okay. So it's more like, everyone he's made them all better people towards him, rather than like a bully would become an evil villain.
Yeah, sort of. Although, like, he sort of changed it so he could be like a hero in it, and then like he could be like a multi-millionaire hero type person who goes around saving the world or something.
Doing whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, I guess. Just
We could write some of these into proper scripts, and then we could do.
Yeah.
Or we could do like Dan's. Maybe we could do it next year or whenever it's sort of nearly back to normal. We could have written a script, and then as a kind of youth group, we could act it and record it and film it.
I can provide the dinosaurs.
I'd much rather to act you as.
You can provide the set. Yeah, we could
I
make
mean,
a
yeah.
film.
Make a short film.
Any
I'm well up for that.
producers that are listening, hit us up
Yeah.
if you like any of the ideas. Get our own
Yeah.
movie
Or, like,
studios.
credit.
That's probably the take home from today. Be creative, and producers, give us a ring if you like any of these ideas.
Exactly.
I think that's a good idea, though. We should do something like that.
Yeah.
Where we write a script.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of come up with a story together, write a script for it, and then we just act it and film it and do interesting things.
Yeah, I mean, within the youth group and within youth leaders and stuff, we have the skills we'd need to make a film.
Yeah,
Let's go decide which.
Summer project or
I mean, also there's good places that we can film around, because there's like snuff mills and stuff, and other quite close places that have nice woods and all sorts of interesting terrain.
Could be one of the challenges we do on the weekend away.
Great, thanks for all your ideas. It's been fun to be creative together and to discuss together. So we'll see you next month for our next instalment of St Mike's Youth Chats. Bye.
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 Bye.